Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a triumphant Tuesday and a great week so far. Today, we're going to be getting into our daily cryptocurrency market update, where we not only look at the cryptocurrency space, but we look at global finance, macro events, and so on, because they all play a role in this very small world that we are in, that is the crypto space. So we're going to get into all that in this video. We're going to be going over a number of things. I'm going to be showing you what is really taking place at the moment, why we're seeing this downturn within Bitcoin. Now, when you're looking at Bitcoin, and the reason that we focus so much on Bitcoin is very obvious now, because the entire market is still tethered to Bitcoin. So we focus on Bitcoin for that reason. But when you look at Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin against the US dollar. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to pull up over here at the top. We've got the US dollar chart, and underneath it, we've got Bitcoin. And we're actually going to take a look at what's taking place. There's a lot of correlation here that's happening, and with everything on a global macro finance event, certainly with the US, you've got Jerome Powell essentially saying that he's now going to start to let me see if I can find that, tackle inflation and start to taper off bond buybacks. You've got 20 central banks holding meetings to take a look at inflation and see what they can do to combat it. You've got a lot going on, guys, and that is all. Inflation is bad for the dollar, good for Bitcoin, and when they try and tackle it with really what I think is empty promises and empty threats, to up interest rates and stuff like that, you're going to see the dollar sort of start to gain a little bit of strength. In wake of that, you've also got fears of this new variant. We've seen some countries already go into lockdown. So there's a lot going on, and these are all somewhat bullish things for the dollar because people will hedge their bets in a inflationary environment in assets, and in a sort of deflation environment, they'll move into the dollar. And certainly in times of uncertainty, March 2020 really taught everybody an amazing lesson. People flock to the dollar in times of uncertainty because they know that if they go into the dollar and something does happen, like a black swan event, they're going to be picking up the assets that they previously held at a far cheaper rate. But the macro trend for assets, the macro trend for commodities, the macro trend for crypto is up, but you will have ups and downs within that. And the reason being is because fiat systems around the world are getting proliferated. If you look at the global debt chart, this continues to grow, and it accelerates in certain points, pulls back, and of course markets are all very correlated with that. So that's why we're doing these sort of daily market videos, because I've not only been in crypto for 5 years, I've also looked at finance at large, and it's changed my life. I think it's a subject that everybody should come to terms with, because it directly impacts your life, whether you want to admit it or not. When they proliferate the money supply, your wage goes down in terms of buying power. Things get more expensive. Your wage doesn't quite match it, and you get directly impacted, you and your family, and it often affects some of the hardest working among us and the people that get paid the least. So let's get into it all. First thing that I really want to stress, why is it I'm continuing with this headwind that we've got coming from monetary policy and fears of the new variant causing lockdowns, etc., etc. Why is it I'm continuing to accumulate crypto? Well, I believe in what's going on here. And I really want to stress that crypto has a long way to go. One of the best ways for me to highlight that is we have Apple, nears 3 trillion in market cap. Why? It still has more room to run at a record high. So this article's tackling that they still think Apple's going to continue to grow. There is an argument for the fact that Apple is overvalued, but also an argument for the fact that everything is overvalued, and that Apple, as it continues to gain more adoption, very similar to cryptos and the whole value proposition we have with crypto, as it gets adopted, the price will follow. And $3 trillion in terms of market cap is 1.5 times our market. So, and that's in a single equity. So that gives you a good idea of just how much room this has to grow, how much value there is still for crypto to capture. And that's why I accumulate on a dollar cost average basis. I've been here for 5 years. I plan on being here for the next 80 years, if I make it 80 years. So that was a really good opening statement for me to start with. Bitcoin, we're running into that headwind. We've been doing a lot of looking. We've even looked at some of the bonds, the US 30-year government bond yields. And everything is very correlated. We can see a little bit of a pullback here. The FTSE actually did quite well, which is the top 100 stocks in the UK. There's a lot of travel and leisure here. So with all this new variant fears, we've seen a little bit of a pullback. This uncertainty across markets. And when markets are risky, people will take that risk off the table. So the more risky assets will get liquidated the most, if that makes sense. So what I want to do is very quickly jump into this. Now, this is interesting. This is the US dollar that we've got at the top. And this, of course, is Bitcoin at the bottom. And you can see, can you see the opposition here? Let's get rid of that for now. Can you see the opposition here? You went down here for the dollar. Everything got hit, but then you see this correlation take place. So there's direct opposition within these. Now, if we look at the dollar, you can see that your trend is down. Now this, and what we'll do is we'll actually start to mark these. So March the 18th, sorry, May the 18th, May the 18th. So if you look at what happened, you have a lot of dollar weakness due to the inflationary event that was March 2020 and the fact that governments had to inflate the monetary supply to proliferate everything and to stimulate the economy, stop it from crumbling, which would have been the natural progression that would have happened with a shutdown of that magnitude and the economic turmoil that would have caused. And you can see, so the dollar gets weaker with all the printing that they do. Something like Bitcoin, which was really created as an inflationary hedge in 2008, sorry, goes up because people flock from the dollar into these assets. Not just Bitcoin, you've got many stocks that did a similar thing. You know, this is the whole, the rich get richer and the poor get poor. And the reason being is because the rich people actually own assets. Poor people tend to either live month to month or have very little savings, and any that they do have is sat in fiat currencies, which is not a smart move. And then you can see what's happened since then. So the dollar gains strength. Poor Bitcoin finds itself coming under a little bit of fire. Certainly, you know, when we have these kind of sell-offs, people flock, just like March 2020, into your fiat systems. And certainly the dollar being the kind of overlord of the Forex market. And you can see we're still there today. We're still running into headwinds. And certainly with all these news articles, Powell saying he's going to, you know, stop bond buybacks or stop tapering them, which causes a liquidity issue with the markets. Also saying that he's going to tackle inflation. He may do this via interest rate hikes. They can't. Interest rate hikes are a very interesting one because if you look at the repercussions of them upping interest rates, it has a devastating effect on emerging nations and many companies out there. And it's certainly given what's going on at the moment. You know we had the non-farm payroll, which was the jobs information that came a lot lower than they'd expected. Certainly with the new variant. Can they really put the interest rates up in a time such as this? Can they really start to taper off the stimulus they were previously giving? I would argue that they can't without serious economic repercussions. So they're saying a lot of ifs, buts, and maybes at the moment. Anything they do, I think, will be very trivial, but will have an effect on market. And that actually, you know, one thing that I want to keep stressing is crypto's got a long way to go. And I really want to stress the fact that, you know, they can do whatever they want with inflation to quiet it down, if you will, in the short term. But the macro trend for inflation is that the monetary systems around the globe get proliferated continuously over time. You know, this is something they can't stop. We can't create a deflationary event, or we can't create a deflationary event of any sort of magnitude, if that makes sense. So that's, you know, the reason that I continue to accumulate crypto. This is all ifs, buts, and maybes. Can they really tackle the issues that we find ourselves in? Certainly, if we look at the 20 central banks holding meetings to tackle inflation, you know, certainly Europe, the European Central Bank, what can they really do at the moment when a lot of their countries are already going into lockdown over this new variant? They can't really start to get brave with tackling inflation when they know they need that money to stimulate the economy and to kind of prop everything up during these periods of you know, low GBP. So that's all. So much at play here, guys. This is another article. Bitcoin price dip may end Wednesday as a Bitfinex bids hint Fed by the news plans. So the Fed are meeting tomorrow. Fed meets for the first time since Powell signals policy shift. Three things to watch out for. I know what I'm personally expecting. Not a lot. I think they're going to kind of say that they'll probably push back bond buybacks until they know when this is coming. Remember as well, guys, it's also the end of the year. What you'll typically get at the end of the year is people taking money off the table. So if they've had a good year, they won't sit in uncertainty. They'll kind of rein that in and look to the new year for direction. So there's so much going on a macro scale. It's all very centered around Bitcoin. Crypto will rise again, guys. It's a matter of when, not if. I thought this was an extremely important thing to mention, that we have one single equity, Apple, with $3 trillion in terms of market cap. That's 1.5 times the entire crypto space. And when you really look at the journey that crypto's on, we have got a long way to go. And all this fear and uncertainty is short-term. Long-term, things look fantastic. And I must admit, the world is in a very, very weird and strange place. But we've had far, far worse than this if you look throughout history, and always pulled through. So that's a little encouraging message, I guess, for where we're at. So we'll keep you up to date. Still uncertainty across markets. We're not seeing any kind of major movement. Come and look at your US dollar versus Bitcoin chart. This really sums everything up very, very accurately. So I'm going to love and leave you on that note, guys. We will be bringing out another video tomorrow. We're going to keep these daily cryptocurrency market updates going to let you know where we're at. We'll also start covering a lot more of the news and so on and so forth. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Have a fantastic Tuesday, and I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video.